Hey, we can do that one. So what do we got here? We got the ATO. That is the Australian Taxation Office. We got random fucking speed limits, expensive petrol, a Ford Falcon for some reason. All right, let's check it out. You rated him once, that's Oh! Okay, sorry. Yeah, that must have been a while ago then. Ah, yes, I know the channel.
Well, as per usual, YouTube took this video down again as well. The timestamp that they gave me here was a photo of a fish with a cigarette in its mouth. So I've gone through and lobotomized this video as well, with this photo on the screen, to remove anything that could remotely be considered violent or harmful content, of which, believe it or not, there was none in the video. I don't know what to do anymore, but enjoy the video.
Do you have any thoughts on the game Mixtape? If you're enjoying the game, I'm happy for you. I have zero interest in playing the game, though.
Australia. What a great place to live. It's definitely in the top 200 countries of all time.
It is definitely in the top 200, I'll give you that.
I spent years singing the praises of this place, but it's not all fun and games, is it?
In deep shit, tourists stuck in excrement for hours after pit toilet collapse. Oh, that's... Nah, that's rough. Didn't we watch a video about Australian roadworks? Yes, we did.
And one thing that I've noticed is that whenever I focus on the negatives, the videos perform a lot better than when I focus on the positives.
Oh, I bet,
So in this video, we'll be going through some of the things that I personally dislike about Australia, and some of the things that you guys probably dislike as well.
Okay.
Anyway, that's enough waffle, let's get into it. Starting off, of course, with one of my least favourite things in the entire world, the tax office.
Yeah, fucking taxes.
Now look.
Actually, to be fair, the Australian taxes are actually very easy. We have this online system. If you just work a job and you don't really have anything to claim, it just automatically fills it out for you. You really don't have to do that much work. We don't have to deal with like bullshit American paperwork nonsense.
As much as we love to joke, and sometimes not joke, about how much we hate the tax office.
Why did the fucking Spotto here? What did Spotto do?
You have to admit, without taxes, we'd be pretty fucked. However, that doesn't mean that the tax office doesn't constantly take the fucking piss. One of the stupidest taxes that I can think of is, of course, the luxury car tax.
Ooh, that's a fun one. The luxury car tax. Yep.
This tax was brought in on the 1st of July, 2000, basically to protect our local car manufacturing industry, and of course, line the...
Yeah, and we don't have a local car manufacturing industry anymore.
Government's pockets by picking on people who want to buy luxury or expensive cars. In 1999, you could get a Ford AU Falcon Fairmont for $50,000. That's over $100,000 in today's money back in 1999. And back then, you could get a brand new BMW 318i E36 for very similar money. And since the government had seen a trend of people buying these imported luxury German-engineered vehicles instead of the bodgy...
there's a, the Holden's factory is in like, the Holden's factory is just north of Elizabeth. Or I guess it was north of Elizabeth. There's no Holden's factory anymore because there's no fucking Holdens.
Fords made in Broadmeadows. They brought in the tax to incentivize people to buy our... Instead of the bodgy Fords made in Broadmeadows, they brought in the tax to incentivize people to buy our cars instead of the overseas imports.
Yeah.
Which is fair enough, I guess. Now,
when we had cars that were made here.
Fast forward to October of 2017, when the last ever Holden Commodore rolled off the production line, and with it, the end of Australian-made cars. Guess what's still here to stick around? You guessed it, the luxury car tax. However, the tax has gone from 25% of every dollar over the threshold to 33%, and the threshold of $55,134 in 2000 is worth roughly $110,000 in today's money, whereas the luxury car tax today applies to every dollar a car costs over $80,567. So
this was here to protect Holden. We don't have Holden anymore. Why the fuck do we still have this?
Technically, that means that the threshold's come down by $30,000.
Ford, German engine. No, he was talking about the BMW, not the Ford.
And obviously, as you all know, cars are only getting more and more expensive. Cars like the 78.
Does this affect used cars as well? Well, if you're importing a used $80,000 car, yes, but you're probably not.
And 76 series Land Cruiser are being included with the luxury car tax, even though this is the interior. And obviously cars like dual cab utes and the 79 series Land Cruiser are all exempt from this because they're technically commercial vehicles, even though they seem to be pushing well over the luxury car tax threshold these days. If you buy a car for, let's say, $500,000, you're
What was that? Was that Nissan GTR?
These days. If you buy a car for, let's say,
What the fuck? What? Wait. What the fuck?
$100,000, you're paying
$500,000 for a GTR. Righto.
3% tax on every dollar over that $80,000 mark, meaning that $500,000 car now costs you almost $100,000 just in luxury car tax. But that's just the left hook, because the right hook's still yet to come, since that price doesn't.
Do you guys drive manual there more or automatic? I want to say automatic's more common. Which is more popular in Australia? Manual or automatic? I can only drive an auto. Yeah, auto seems to be more popular.
Includes stamp duty. So my message to the government is, if you're gonna f us like this,
oh yeah, stamp duty as well. Yeah.
Stamp duty. So my message to the government is, if you're gonna
stamp duty is basically the paperwork tax.
Us like this, at least take us out to dinner first. So when people ask me, why do you drive an AU Falcon Forte instead of a Lamborghini Aventador SVJ? This is why. Another tax that I don't understand is, of course, the fuel excise. Now,
Isn't it? It's just the tax on the fuel for existing.
This, they temporarily cut it from 52 cents per litre to 20 cents per litre, but I'm sure they won't waste time putting it back up when the time comes. But even then, we're paying 50 cents a litre in fuel excise just to pay another 10% GST when it comes time to check out. Now, I understand that without taxes, this country would not be running as well as it does, but frack me, one or the other. Another great one is, of course...
That one they're not going to get rid of. They're probably going to raise it because, obviously, electric cars don't pay a fuel excise because they're not buying petrol. So they want to be able to sort of keep that money... Thanks for reminding me not to backseat or have backseated things about Australia. Feel free to backseat about Australia if you want to. That's there for the video games. Obviously not for the React segment. But yeah, I feel like the fuel excise will probably go up as electric cars become more common because they don't want to lose out on the tax revenue for that.
The excise on cigarettes and alcohol. I can't really be bothered getting into...
God, yeah, buying alcohol in Australia is so fucking expensive.
The alcohol excise, but as you know, if you've been overseas, in Australia it's expensive. And the cigarette tax has gotten so high that the government themselves has created their own black market of illegal imports that's wreaking havoc.
Yeah, Australian cigarette taxes are so high that we have a massive black market of import cigarettes. We have a massive black market of import cigarettes, which I think at this point may be more popular than the legal market.
All over the country. So it's safe to say that the tax system here is not very respected. Anyway, moving on. Quick side note that I got to add on before we get into our next one is, of course, house prices.
Yeah. Yeah, like a cheap house in a... Okay, a cheap house in the suburbs of Australia at this point is $500,000. That's a cheap house. Now, is that number cheap? No, but that's a cheap house. Now, if you're in the city, yeah, I don't even want to acknowledge how expensive city houses are.
Now, I'm not an expert on this topic, so I don't have a reason, and I'm not a politician, so I don't have a solution. But as a YouTuber, I am qualified to complain about it. The median house price in Melbourne, where I live, is $1 million these days.
Oh, keep in mind, that's also without including the taxes on top of the house price.
And for $1 million, you pretty much get a shanty. But the worst offender, of course, has to be those inner city Sydney houses where it's like $10 million for an absolute rundown shoebox. But then you get those scumbag property investors who are all over social media and the news these days, flexing about how many houses they own, with their whole...
Can I just say, this is something that pissed me off a few years back. I was going for a walk. I don't remember. Yeah, it was a few years back anyway. And I saw a sign up for a house being like, it was like a sale sign, right? It was sitting in the yard. And it said, "This is a great first investment property." Like, what the fuck do you mean this is a great first investment property? There's a lot of reasons why the housing market is fucked in Australia. Negative gearing, where you can basically offset your losses against the house. Basically... housing investments in Australia are the meta. They are the meta investment, and it creates this fucking nightmare. Is the market not fucked anywhere? There are less fucked places, but yeah, no.
And goal is to just sit back and do nothing and get money. That's my job, but at least you guys get some entertainment out of what I do. The next up, of course, we're going to talk about how far away everything is from Australia and within Australia. Look how big Australia is compared to the USA.
Yeah, people don't really know how big Australia is because of, Mercator projection? Sorry, are there any map nerds here? Mercator projection, that sounds right. Mercator projection, yeah. It's the way we draw, the way we basically represent countries on a map is not the actual scale of those countries. There are different ways of creating a map that have more accurate scales. But Mercator projection basically fucks with how big everything is, and people assume that Australia is way smaller than it actually is. Like, Greenland is so huge, but not really IRL. I believe the further away you are from the equator, the smaller the country looks in Mercator projection. So you bring it towards the equator, and it becomes massive.
Very similar in size, except they have 50 states and we have 8 states and territories.
Yeah.
Which means you basically have 50 different cities to choose from to live in or near. Whereas in Australia, we've got 8 major cities, one of which is in Tasmania, so that's an instant write-off. And they're all so far away from each other that the capital city of New Tasmania, so that's an instant write-off. And they're all
41 out? Really? It's only 41 hours. No way. There's like stretches of this where you're gonna die. Do you have a good rail system? Within states, it's okay. Like, usually you can get to like the outer suburbs. But anything else, like all of this inner area is no, you're driving there. We also do have a rail system that goes around the country, but it's more of like a tourist rail rather than like actually productive. So it's like this will take 10 times as long because it's kind of like the same thing as a cruise, right? It's not supposed to be fast. It's supposed to be scenic.
So far away from each other that the capital city of New Zealand is closer to Canberra than Perth is. And the closest major capital cities are Canberra and Melbourne, and there's nothing to do in either of them. Then, of course, is the price of getting around.
Hey, shut up. The shit to do in Melbourne. I'm in fucking Adelaide.
Thanks to Qantas and petrol prices. But I've already been through that in my airplanes video, so go watch that if you want the rundown. But basically, for the same price and time, you can either fly from Melbourne to Brisbane, or if you live somewhere like Manchester, you can fly to Benidorm for like £100, do a madness, and then come back home. Whereas the closest thing Australia has to that is Bali, which even from the closest capital city, Darwin, is like $400 and 3 hours of flying. Now, I know that's not...
Australians fucking adore Bali. If you go to Bali, you will find more Australians than you will find locals.
No one's fault, but that doesn't mean I can't still complain about it. And our New Zealand brothers across the ditch have the same problem. But fuck.
Wait, since I'm Belgian and since you're Australian, I am not 6 foot, nor am I of muscle, but I do speak your language. Fortunately, I don't have a Vegemite sandwich. Bring back Pangea, I agree.
Imagine if Australia was just a little bit closer to everything, we'd save a whole lot of time and money. Bring back the Concorde, I reckon. But even this little dilemma won't stop you from running into Australians at every corner of the globe. I mean, just check out this Facebook page where people spot South Sydney Rabbitohs fans everywhere but South Sydney. But it gets worse. Australia's passport is the most expensive in the world.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Coming in at $422 fucking dollars. Why? And it gets even worse. I saw this the other day.
Going overseas is about to get more expensive. It's called the passenger movement charge and is essentially an exit fee to leave the country. $70 every time you buy a plane ticket or a cruise ticket. The government wants to raise it from $70 to $80, so only an extra $10, but really it adds up.
The government's added $10 onto the passenger movement charge, which I didn't even know was a thing until now, and is basically a fee every time you leave the country.
What? Huh? No, I didn't know about that one. That's a new one to me.
As if it wasn't already fucking expensive enough. But who am I to judge? The politicians are gonna...
Yeah, okay, let's do one. Australia, let's go Adelaide to Tokyo. Cheapest flight is $750. But the rest of them, I don't know why that's so cheap, because the rest of them are $1,600. How much is that in real currency? You fucking convert it yourself. Via Singapore? I'm not sure. No, I think it's a direct flight.
Pay for all their alcohol somehow, which they're only making more and more expensive.
Price of beer to increase by 3.7%. Of course.
Every 6 months. Anyway, that's enough political shit. Let's move on. You know who else I hate? Those who put ads all over Facebook targeting tradies saying, hey, do you want to escape the 9 till 5? Buy my course and I'll tell you how as well. And they're like 19 and never worked a day in their life, claiming that the methods that they used helped them escape the 9 till 5. Even though most tradesmen work from 7 till 3, which they would have known if they weren't lying about the fact that they used to work in the trades before they escaped using their methods. It's almost as if they specifically target tradesmen because they think they're dumb, even though they're the ones that fell for the pyramid scheme that they're promoting, and the tradies are earning more than them while actually contributing something to society. Those idiots just need to shut up. Now, another thing that really cheeses me off about Australia is that they only produced the AU Falcon for 4 years.
It is a nice car. I wasn't really a Falcon fan growing up, but the Falcon has grown on me.
While the first generation Volkswagen Beetle was produced for 65 years, and that was designed by... So obviously controversy doesn't play a factor into how long a vehicle's produced for, but I'm pretty sure the reason that they shut up shop on the AU Falcon so early is because Wakanda ran out of vibranium, which of course is used to build the engine internals on the AU Falcon, and after they'd sold 10 million of them, they thought used to build the engine internals on the AU Falcon, and after
That's a fucking vehicle! That is a fucking vehicle! I'd prefer it in blue rather than red. Man, look at that thing. That's fucking gorgeous. That's a ute. That is a ute. That is exactly what it is. White would look good as well. White would also look good. Blue Falcon ute. Yeah. Blue AU Falcon ute. Yeah. Here we go. Okay, the image is very low res, but look at that thing. Where do you get cars from then? We have a lot of Japanese cars, of course. We have a lot of German cars. Obviously, we have a lot of Fords here, because we also used to make Fords here as well. But lately, we've also been getting a lot of Chinese cars. We have a lot of BYDs, and various other Chinese brands. Especially in the electric market. The electric market in Australia is primarily Chinese cars at this point. Like, Tesla is still a massive seller, but BYD outsold Tesla last couple of quarters.
They'd sold 10 million of them. They thought, we don't need to produce anymore. These things will last forever. And that was history.
No, not
but I wish I
bring your
could
own
walk into a
device.
Ford dealership today and buy a brand spanker. But as I mentioned earlier, we don't build cars anymore.
We don't
now, as
fucking
you may or
build
may not have
cars.
noticed, I'm slightly running out of dot points here because I believe Australia is the greatest country in the world. And there's not too many things I hate about it. But this next one, I do. And that, of course, is speed limits.
Fucking speed
1902. I remember it like it was yesterday. But in 1903, Australia implemented its first speed limits. But even then, apparently, you could just speed anyway as long as you did so safely. It's not like they had highway patrol with radar guns to measure your speed. But as a wise man once said,
Speed has never killed anyone. Suddenly becoming stationary, that's what gets you.
and one thing that's been around since the 1900s, of course, is shit drivers. Now, obviously, the road toll keeps rising in Australia, but so does the population, so kind of makes sense. However, back in the 1970s or 80s, we didn't have smartphones, traction control, lane keep assist, automatic braking, radar-guided cruise control, you name it. You actually had to be good at driving to be able to drive. Now, any idiot can just go into a car dealership, get a brand new BYD Rock Spider 15, bang it down the freeway with all the assists, and not actually have to learn how to drive properly. Now, the amount of times I've been in like an Uber or a taxi and the driver's got his phone on the dashboard watching movies, or I'm driving down the freeway, I
I've
look
not
to the
had
left and
that
someone's doing the
before.
exact same thing. I think Australia has a bad driving problem. I mean, when you look at similar sized countries like the USA, Canada, Russia, and China, our speed limits seem to be a lot lower, which isn't exactly helpful when everything's so far away, as I mentioned before. But in inner city towns, they seem to keep lowering speed limits non-stop. Roads going from 80 to 60 for no reason, 60 to 50 for no reason, and in super built-up areas, 40 to 30. At this point, I'm just going to park up the car and start
thankfully
walking
it has to do with
quicker. Now, I
that.
say it's for safety and everything, but even
happy
the
being in the
60k an hour
suburbs.
zones in Melbourne, you're going like 20 most of the time because of all the traffic. And
Yeah,
whenever they
you're in
drop these
Melbourne.
limits, it seems to be a spawn point for these mobile speed cameras. But I reckon that's a can of worms that will open another time. But the worst affected road, of course, has to be the Stewart Highway in the middle of Bumf. Certain sections of this highway that connect Port Augusta to Darwin used to have no speed limit because there was literally nothing to hit, and it's in the middle of nowhere. And in 1994, they had a cannonball event where they raced from the bottom to the top of the Stewart Highway in open traffic conditions, which of course 75% of the route had absolutely no speed limit. And obviously,
Yeah, and had absolutely no fucking people because you're on Stewart Highway driving through the middle of the fucking country.
it's not safe. And unfortunately, 4 people died when a Ferrari F40 crashed, killing both occupants of the vehicle and 2 race officials. But it was legal. And in 2014, the Wheels magazine took the final Australian-built Ford Falcon GT in an attempt to hit 300 k's an hour, similar to what they did in 1971 with the XY GT on the Hume Highway. Imagine doing that now. But they fell a little bit short, only hitting 297 k's an hour, almost as quick as the AU Falcon. And then in 2016, they finally limited the speed limit on the Stewart Highway to a measly 130 kilometers an hour. And
This is something I actually do like about, like, you know, it's an open highway. Just let us go 200. If I want to go 200, let me go 200. Like, just let me do 200. Why not? There's nothing out there anyway.
anyway, moving on to our final thing, gambling ads. Now, gambling
Australia loves gambling.
ads on social media is a big can of worms that I'm not going to get into. These companies pay a lot of money, and for most people, making YouTube videos is very expensive, so that money does go a long way. But no Instagram reel is being improved with the
Okay.
Rainbet integration. But the worst offender, of course, has to be the sports betting ads.
Sportsbet, proud supporters of having a crack.
Imagine what you could be buying instead. For free and confidential support, call them.
Whenever there's footy on, or any major sporting event, you just get absolutely
bets.
bombarded with them. Now, 2 of my least favourites are, of course, the sports bet proud supporters of having a crack, but by far the worst.
Fuck. Something I do love about Australian ads is we do have a bunch of like, we're totally okay having stupid sexual innuendos in our ads.
Two of my least favourites are of course the sports bet proud supporters of having a crack, but by far the worst one is this Ladbrokes one where they couldn't even be bothered using their massive profits to employ real actors, a real production team, instead just AI generating.
Having a crack is a sex joke? Maybe that is an Australian term. Crack is butt crack, your butthole. So the joke is proud supporters of having a crack, proud supporters of having an asshole, but also having a crack is like having a go at something.
It all. Like, how scummy can you be? Especially when these platforms just ban anyone who wins too much. At least the government's been cracking down recently. Anyway, I think we'll leave it there. If you enjoyed this video, you'll probably enjoy one of these too. Like, subscribe, comment, and share. And I'll see all of you guys in the next one.
That was fun. I always like doing the Australian ones. They're always fun.